How to rid yourself of insecurity as a man. In a time of the world where it feels like everybody's sort of on the internet trying to define what it means to be a man, everybody is there setting standards on how a man should act or behave, or what it is that is expected of him, and how he must live up to and meet these expectations. It becomes an absolute necessity for us to be able to rid ourselves of insecurity and find peace in who we are as an individual. Which poses the question, how do we define insecurity? Insecurity is a feeling of uncertainty, anxiety, or lack of confidence in oneself or one's abilities or one's situation. You know, the internet is full of discourse on the role of a man in life, in society, in his relationships, in his ability to attain value, in all aspects of his manliness, his male life. And it creates so much noise, because although we think as if that doesn't affect us, subconsciously it's there eating away, setting a standard for us when we haven't defined our own. The thing about insecurity is you can only feel insecure about things you haven't accepted. You can only be insecure about things that you haven't accepted. You need to get to a point of self-acceptance that you understand where you are is enough. Equally as enough as where you're trying to go. But that's the thing, right? That's the part most people miss in life. Understanding that where they are is equally as enough as where they're going. Men are made to feel insecure about how much they earn financially, or the value in which they have to provide to the world, or physical appearance. I know shorter men often get the shorter end of the stick. Please forgive the pun. So, learning to accept these parts of ourselves allow us to operate in a different energy in life. See, the whole point of people saying these things is to inflict inadequacy within you, is to assign a feeling of insecurity within you. When you're able to be bulletproof to that, when you've come to full self-acceptance, it becomes you operate differently in life. The energy in which you walk in, the way in which you feel. Because that's the reason we do anything in this life, because of the way it make us feel. If somebody insults you, you can only be offended by the insult if you agree with what they have said, even in the slightest amount. Imagine something that you're super competent at, something that you know so well. You are in full 100% belief of how something is, because you've done it a million times. Imagine somebody comes up to you and says, that's not how you do it. You look at them and you laugh. You say, okay, thank you. And you not pay attention to a single thing they said. Why? Because you're in no doubt of it. You must get to that point of security that becomes difficult for others to assign insecurity or inflict insecurity onto you. I'll give you an example. If you're an individual who's on the shorter spectrum of height, right? But you've come to acceptance that this is the way God created you and you had no control over, and your parents had no control over it. And this is just the man that you are, and God wouldn't give you a challenge that you couldn't face. You come to acceptance of it. Anybody who ever makes any comment about that would bounce right off you, because you understand their ignorance. You understand the position that they speak from. They don't understand, but you've accepted it. It is a part of who you are, right? So, and even in terms of money, oftentimes society makes men feel insecure about how much they own or the value in which they provide to life. Yes, as a man, you should be working towards building a better life, making more skills, building a business, becoming a better man as an individual, not to be a provider and protector, first for yourself, but second, to be able to provide and protect, yes. But make sure the priority is to build yourself. You know, the most worthy pursuit in this life and the ultimate pursuit is the pursuit of self, to attain everything that you can attain in this life. But the problem is we tie our self-worth to how our bank account looks or the amount of money we make. And that's what society wants us to do. That inflicts us with inadequacy. And then we feel as if we need to get into a point of consumerism and consumption, right? To feel the inadequacy. To buy labeled t-shirts, branded t-shirts, fancy shoes, expensive belts so we can assign value to ourselves, because we ourselves as an individual feel as if we are valueless. You need to learn how to play outside the rules of society and the rules of society. Society sets rules to keep everybody in the same loop of mediocrity. And when you're able to know what your values are, where your value comes from, why you see the world as you see as an individual, then it becomes difficult for people outside of you to then feel you with insecurity. You know, you understand that insults are simply just projections. Any insult anybody can ever offer you is something that they're afraid to hear about themselves. And when you see it like that, it becomes difficult, extremely difficult for you to be offended by anything anybody outside of you has to say. So you need to look at yourself and understand that your value is not based on how your bank account looks. Your value is based on the way God created you and the fact that you're simply a man and you are enough. Oftentimes, our insecurities are projected to us as we go about life. When something doesn't go our way, we assign the reason to be our insecurity. Because we fail to accept ourselves. We have yet not made peace with certain facts about ourselves. And the second we make peace with that, we understand, we see how much our reality changes. Because we're no longer assigning the reason in which we didn't attain something, our insecurity. Make sense? If somebody is insecure about the fact that they have a zit on their face, and this is just a basic example. Let's say I have a big zit on my face, and somebody's insecure about that. If they go for a job interview, or if they express interest in somebody, they're going to blame the zit for not getting it because they're insecure about the zit. But the whole time it wasn't the zit. It was just simply a mere experience. And that is a problem with our insecurities. Another thing about where our insecurities as men come from, and this is another way in which it's projected. We project our insecurities onto the world is when we express interest in the opposite race, right? When we see a female that we're interested in, yet the female is equally as interested in us as we are in her. We often assign the reason being our insecurity. We assign the reason which she's not interested in us to be our insecurity. This is very wrong. This is very wrong. And here's the problem. You assign too much value into her opinion. Her opinion was always valueless. Yeah, you may like the way she physically is appealing to you. But as a man, if you can learn to detach physical appeal to caring about what the individual thinks, you become invincible, indestructible. You just become more of a man. You become, the way you operate life is become extremely different. Because oftentimes when we find somebody attractive, we assign them traits that they aren't deserving of, that they haven't really earned. Why? What need is there for them, for us to assign them traits that they haven't earned? That is so incorrect. They must earn the title of respect. They must earn us valuing their opinion. Just because you find them physically appealing doesn't mean you should care what they think. You should go express interest. Yes. But do not tie your self-worth to the outcome of that. Do not tie your self-worth to the outcome of the situation. All you're ever there to do is to express interest. Say, hey, I was walking past, I noticed you, you caught my attention. I'm so-and-so. Pleasure to meet you. And then you take it from, depending on how they receive that, then you take it from there. But as a man, it becomes an absolute necessity for you and a priority for you to learn to accept yourself. Every single part of yourself. Let's say you're not in the best shape in life, right? That you can ever be, but you're alive and you're healthy and able enough to work out. You should accept the fact that you are exactly where you are right now. And you're going to work towards the goal of actually becoming in the best shape that you can possibly be in. But you should not hate yourself in the process. Because having more of what you already have will not make you any better off than you are now. Having more of what you have now will not make you any better off than you are now. So learn to accept yourself. And learn to make peace with everything about you. So that when somebody insults you or has the intention to inflict insecurity onto you, you do not believe it because you are competent in thyself. You've mastered. You understand yourself to such a depth. You're so convinced of your abilities. You accepted every single one of your shortcomings. That it doesn't affect you nor does it offend you. It doesn't affect you, nor does it affect you. We need to come to peace with our shortcomings. We all have him. We all have him. That doesn't make us any less than a human being. The biggest change that you can make is to not find worth in things that are external. Because you can find worth in things that are external when life takes those things away from you. When life takes those things away from you, you'll feel worthless. But when you find worth within your intrinsic value, which is the value that comes from within, being a person of great character, having a good personality, having good priorities in life, valuing the right things, being a kind individual, saying you'll do the things that you say you do in this life, it becomes difficult for other people to rob you of that. So find peace in the individual that you are. Learn to be competent in thyself. Learn to understand yourself in such depth that it becomes difficult for things outside of you to rob you of those things. And then you'll rid yourself of insecurity. It's been your boy KPOV. Thank you guys for watching. Like and share with a friend. Peace.